haven't sent this to anybody yet, so hello. I'm just getting things set up. The way I learned to do it was sure not the best way. Let's see, get that. But I think I kind of get it done. And yeah, I just need to go to Facebook here. That's fine. I need to do that. I just need to share this. Sorry, folks. But okay. Hello, Kathy, Southwestern Colors. About to get on the road. Good. Kathy took a trip about 3 hours away. But she's going to be here in mind. I was going to start with music, but I still haven't sent the link to my Facebook. Okay, I shouldn't be on Facebook now, alright. I'm a little slow at the moment. That's why I want to play music. Let me know if it sounds okay. just thought of something I might do. For somebody in particular. Yeah, I was going to do something with the flute a little bit because I kind of want to stay in practice and I have fun with it. I like the way that it puts like a mystery to it, the first part. Ends down in dark. Really comes down to polarity, I guess. As opposed to ending in a lighter note. A little bit hopeful there. That's the way my vehicle interprets it. That's why there's no wrong notes, I guess. And then I go and I use the F sharp and lighten things up. No, I'm only joking. I don't know. I'm just giving these little interpretations of my own stuff. When I just did that, I felt like I brought in a little bit of the Arabic ethnicity in my mind. Because I grew up in the 50s when they were, and 60s, when they were doing those black and white movies about, the Arabian Nights and filled with, the conquests of the colonialists and the rebellion of that. have to have that. Like good old Jesus said, he wasn't here to bring peace. He was here to act peaceful towards one another, act, turn the cheek, and which meant forgiveness to whatever degree, I believe, and give to others the way that you would like them to give to you, puts it on a level that gives you like a 50% point, sorry, I got something. A 50% point. Geez, I had this device I have to put into my mouth in order to play the flute. So maybe I won't play it anymore. Because I had to take it out. Because I wanted to talk. But, well, I don't know if there's anything else to do, really. Let's go see what's happening in the chat room, I guess. I rise above. Yes, we're doing well. I mean, we have our challenges like everybody else. Well, maybe some people don't think they have challenges. But we all do, right? I mean, how can you not? A lot of times when I play drums, people complain. Is it because it's got a ominous sound to it? Because we think maybe we've got in our tribal blood that we all still have. Our mammalian species. And maybe people used it as a way to communicate for good and threaten, maybe. I don't know. It wouldn't be that way if the planet wasn't being used by the next level to take advantage of those that went against them and were trying to tell people to believe in them, to not believe in them the next level, but but turn it every which way that they can, so that you're not giving yourself to the older members of the next level. And I believe that those names of those individuals was T and Do. And I know that's hard to take for a lot of people, but I'm accustomed to it. But at the same time, see, there's a certain amount of influences, I believe, that I've experienced that attack you when you stand for something that is not popular, right? I mean, that's pretty plain. So influences, I'm not really attacked that much by anybody, but thank goodness. But the unseen influences, they're the ones that can get to anybody's head. And that's mostly in the form of listening to negatives and not asking the next level for help is the biggest part of it, really. No matter what somebody actually believes, if they reach to the highest source in the universe, among the stars, the way Jesus said it, they know who's thirsty. They know. They've probably been working with, they've been working with a lot of people. A lot of people. Everybody, of course, in degrees, according to our desire to be of service to them, to actually, because we know they are real. And that knowing has degrees of it, and all our human experiences become juxtaposed with everything that's being fed to us and that we're going after in a way that we can take that energy that they give us, and then we can apply their techniques to our lives, and we could greatly improve our lives, no matter what we're in. And, they demonstrated that throughout many years, and by the dietary experimentation that they did, that when we were called Advanced Life Extension Research Team in California. Because all we were doing was selling the produce that we bought off the docks off of L.A. And Junodi and Chekodi would go into town in the docks. And, they're too they had protection, because the next level was there, but they had to be keen also. But I could see Junodi, anybody that would meet Junodi would be like, holy smokes, you are, what a beautiful person. I mean, Chekodi too. All of my classmates were all extraordinarily beautiful people, and it's the way you saw them in the exit videos was their honest joy because of what they recognized, and there's. Because we don't exist strictly as mammals. That's why we were given minds. And so the idea of outgrowing the mammalian characteristics, including families being all attached to each other, all serves its purpose and is all part of the grades in school. And so it's like getting to high school in the 12th grade, and you're questioning a lot of what you've been given. You're probably questioning it from who knows when, because it's all up to the individual souls that are experiencing lives in the human kingdom. And so they're developing, and that's passed down to us. And when we receive it, we also, what comes with it, I think, no, it's something that, for me, you're so proud of that you want to share it with others, even though it's scary to do that. But, here I am playing with the tape on this drum while I'm talking. Okay, the chat. Oh, the blue meteor. Well, it's not the first time we saw a blue meteor, if that's what they're calling it. I don't know what its composition was or what classification it holds. Um, uh, I believe it probably did happen. Uh, I believe that. I mean, they can manufacture things like that. I know that. But it looks like other things that have happened that I don't know. You never can tell, right? For sure. But even if it is the humans doing it, or even the space aliens doing it, uh, doesn't mean that people aren't being directing their attention to the cosmos, because that's where it's coming from our perception, right? So, and it's depositing all kinds of stuff, in the atmosphere. That's I'm sure it's accelerating to us all, and then you see the result of that acceleration in the way that humans are responding to it with power struggles and everything, and all the deceit and all the the claims, so that if you brush your teeth the wrong way or something with the wrong product, you could be sued for it or something. But I don't know. But at the same time, as those business people, that's their game. They're doing that all the time. So anyway, yeah. So I'm not really into that part of things right now, but. But the blue meteor, let's see. Yeah, over Portugal and Spain. Yeah, I saw that report, and like I said, I think and the GPS says I'll be there at 9:30. Okay, great. Stephen Turner, what's up? Yeah, I don't really have a program right now. I was gonna just play music and probably answer questions if anybody has any, and try to answer those questions. But a Apophis, yeah, there might be a lot of them, a lot of Apophis. When Doe said that one of the ways that we might see things wrapping up might be we might see thousands of spacecrafts coming in shifts between the next level shifts and the lower forces shifts. And I don't know, if they're always doing a certain amount of things in this atmosphere, and so the increase in the sight, I don't know if there's an increase in sightings or not. Okay, because I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It's all part of the mind of the next level is actually because of their goodness and uh, how benevolent they are. I sound like I feel like I sound like I'm, anyway. I'm not one to, make a big, well, sometimes it just overwhelms me, what, knowing who T and Doe are, and yet, that's when I just play music. No, it's all cool. so but when Jesus said that, well, you would see a lightning strewn through the heavens, traveling from east to west, according to two different disciples in the records, uh, you know, that lightning, actually, that word stems from aster in the Greek, so it's starlight. You're seeing starlight going through the air. So like a meteor looks like a star falling. It's all part of it. The next level's probably doing it more, and who knows where. We have no idea where it's not being reported or that we're getting the reporting on. I mean, and even if we are getting the reports, we don't know what's true and what's not. I don't believe I don't, I know there's all kinds of ways to fake things, but the point is that it's a reality. Even on the basis of when this was really starting to talk about and how it coordinates with even the record books in the Bible. I make my case in my book, that most of the figures and descriptions and things, what I believe that they mean within the Greek language translations that I have had available. And by doing that, you start to get, it becomes like a multifaceted thing to where you know that several interpretations are all accurate. And it's like a lot of them are, they all work to many some words. And one word, like the Greek word auto, A-U-T-O, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. It means you and them and themselves and that's where in Revelation 11 it says, they are killed and they are dead for 3 days in the street. And T and Do were in Las Vegas, and at the time, and when the media came out with Walter Cronkite, saying who are these mysterious two, that has something to do with these people that disappeared from Walport, Oregon, that they thought the mission was dead at that point because they thought nobody would take them seriously. And then they realized after, I don't know what point, but after the 3 days, that nobody was already taking them seriously. Because of the reports that have already been talked about in the previous meetings that they did before they got to Walport in San Francisco Bay Area and down in North Hollywood where they started. Because there was media following them, it just wasn't much until Walport. And I forgot where I was going with that. So I'll get on to something else. Well, I guess I wish Kathy would say what are people saying about, I don't know. I'll look about the meteor. And I haven't really felt to follow it in the last few days. Even though I feel like it was next level. That's my feeling on it. I mean, the aliens also have an interest in appearing like the next level. See, that's the thing here. And Tiendo already talked about years ago that they felt like the Fatima, the Our Lady of Fatima event in the early 1900s, was it? In Italy and let's see, where is it? Where else it was? Was it Spain? I forget the details on that, but uh, to where they saw the Blessed Virgin Mary, some young girls, and uh, and they thought that was like a hologram. And I don't know that anybody reported any kind of technology like that from those days. It would probably be in the history books already. And but anyway, that's but uh, but we've seen evidence of humans making holograms, trying to. And one of the evidences I saw on a picture was a whole bunch of drones that were turning their lights on, and they were in a pattern. They can do that. And then they can turn some lights on and some lights off, and they can be playing with us with a lot of things. So that's the what I would interpret to be the thousands of spacecrafts that those said we might see coming to the planet in shifts during in this time period, because he was talking about after he left, because he knew he was leaving soon when in 1994. To him, that was very fast, even though for him it was a difficult task the whole time, because he was trying to live up to the connection that he has with his older member. And that's a very good connection that he has. That's why his older member gave that soul and captured that vehicle to do that task through. So T felt like everything that Doe went through in getting involved in society and being popular and making his income from singing and teaching and instruments and his opera singing in the Houston Opera, that so he had all these kind of experiences that those that might come to love him could connect with. And that's loving him is not. It's not like the way that it's talked about exactly. It's the next level has standards. I say it that way. Standards. Is that the Orthodox Christians coming in there and saying, okay, now you got to do this and you got to do this, and that's exactly what the lower forces have humans do. But the next level doesn't push anything on us, but they tell us that if we don't meet their standards, then we're not getting into the next level, basically. And they're not saying it cold. They're just setting the record straight so that we know that's the truth of it. And that is the truth of it. Yep. And so, well, that's my opinion, of course. I know still have the right to that, and I still have the right to say it, I think. Although, the censorship has come my way. And I don't know if it's, but I lose a video once in a while because I referred to something in the medical controversy of when. And I don't rate enough, but at least they're not giving me strikes. So that's a good thing. I just need to talk within the system. the system of the beast, the AI that they're trying to train on us. They're doing that. It's definitely in progress. The machines are deciding, who is putting up good content and who's not, and who needs to be, looked into a little further. See if they're doing any other community offenses. And you know what? Some of that's probably good. Except when it's the truth that they're blocking out. You should release a remake of your song about Tiendo. Mr. Sarkiller's opinion. He says, yeah, I know. I know. I probably would do something if I had, well, frankly, like a lot of people, I'm kind of limited because of lack of funds. So, but I know that's just a remake of your song about. Yeah, I know. I know you're exactly right, and I should commit to do it. Because yeah. You mean you're talking about the one that's posted it's pinned to the top of my site? That's the one you're calling Song About Tiendo? Mr. Storkiller, I wanted to get that clear. Okay, let's see. Hello from Argentina. I'm tired. But hello from Argentina. I like hearing from Argentina. I like hearing from everywhere, and especially, I have to admit, from overseas, because I never traveled overseas or over continents, like Argentina, way in the tip there, with a lot of history. A lot of history. Wow, with that, even the Admiral Byrd stuff, that, anyway, which I don't doubt is probably happened, somewhat like it was told. Because there's nobody alive now that it would matter for anyway. Hello from Wales, UK, Finbar. And that was just Dario Brujo, right? And Project Carthage. Did I miss the music? Well, I guess so. I don't know if I'm not doing it anymore, but I stick a little bit in once in a while because I'm kind of laying back. I'm just chilling, as they say. So, Starman was interesting, Kathy says, and that it seemed to kind of parallel their journey. Yeah? Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I was just thinking about it even more, of how it paralleled their journey. Yeah, like coming from outer space and using genes, to manufacture a vehicle, which not manufacture, but, to develop a vehicle on purpose to have the characteristics that they know it's going to need. Tino said that, if I remember correctly, uh, uh, well, I got distracted by something else. These influences, sometimes they jump on me in my head, little boogers like mosquitoes, and turn my attention to something else, and then I lose track of where I was. But I almost got it back. I almost got it back. About Starman. And yeah, that he had a toolkit. I think that was one of the things that he had those 7 stones, and and some of this. There was an audio tape, 190. I don't know. Kathy might remember uh, that they talked about Starman, the movie, and and that how he used those stones was interesting. And I was looking at it this time, and I thought about it as he was showing that he was standing for life, right? He used one of his. If he ran out of those stones and he had a problem, he could have missed his bus. Another thing I think they talked about was that he had to go back, even though he formed a little relationship with a human being. Um, uh, he knew that he had to go back because he knew that wasn't where he needed to be, where he wanted to be, because he's got a life. He's just not in that vehicle. I'll put on a tangent on that, but in my opinion anyway, if that made any sense, I don't know. But so yeah, that there were qualifications. He had to be someplace because that's where he was sent, I guess, right? And he went off course when they shot it down, or something like that. Anyway, I don't want to spoil it if people haven't seen it. But Starman's a cool movie. Any other parallels? Because it doesn't really steal it, because Jeff Bridges does a great job, I think. Hope that wasn't too high for Kathy's ears. I don't know if it comes through the speakers in the same way as it does with the acoustics of the room. But I didn't know. Yeah, I can try the lowest harmonica too, and do more with it, because I do different things with different harmonicas, different keys. That one that I was just playing was a C minor Lee Oscar. I gravitated to them because I could change the plates, and they lasted pretty well. Yeah, and it had a plastic comb. You know, the wood combs would swell up and either move away from the metal plates or swell out so that it moves and rips up your lips. Let me see what else is in the chat room. Cool. Project Carthage. That's good to hear. I was thinking about doing that, and there should be a way that we could do that if people knew how to adjust the settings so that the different frequencies could know what kind of delay to put on it or something like that for the first signal, or I don't know how they do it, but that's the only way I can think of doing something to where you can sync them up. Maybe nowadays it's fast enough that I don't have that problem anymore like we had in the older days. So anyway, Toronto, yes. England, great to hear from, well, everybody actually. Oh, I got somebody here, Jari Aguilar, Nelson. I don't know if you want your names read on this channel because this is pretty insane stuff here from some people's point of view. That's okay, I guess I read that one already. Oh, the song I'm referring to is one that has 26,000 views on your channel. I think the song is called The UFO Two Witnesses or something like that. I really like that song a lot. Cool. Yeah, that was that was brought about by my friend Peter, who wanted to have a recording and a video. And so that was the first time I actually wrote a script and followed it with the words that I chose. Otherwise you would have had to edit it down to, you know, uh, 5 minutes of music and 2 minutes of talk. But anyway, so it was good to have that focus, I think. I'm glad you like it. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate your appreciation of it. Uh, of course, for me, the way I grew into music, I I just was doing it. So favorite pastime, I guess, was. It's not right now. Now my favorite pastime is hanging with Kathy and having the opportunity to help pay for our bills, because we are both engaged in that process. L Tapes, good to catch up with the stream. And good to have you. Yeah. That name sounds familiar to me. Okay, but doesn't matter. Because I don't have. Well, I just was thinking about it. I'm passing the tree right now. Oh, okay. Great. Did you ever rock out to dough like this? Yeah. Not like this. Not just, like putting things in between and. No, not live. But I certainly have put clips on my tie. Thank you, Project Carthage. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You play along with guitar. Yeah, you said that, didn't you? Yeah. So I got, I can imagine. Yeah, that wouldn't be hard to do. Just get in tune with me. Well, do you have any comments? Have you, like, maybe I shouldn't ask for input, right? I might hear something that I don't want to hear. I was watching old videos, and even Odie, she stares at you a lot. Oh, really? You don't think she was in love with you? Or maybe she had a lot of admiration for you because you were in charge of a group? Well, yes, I think she did have. I wouldn't put it on a love level because we really didn't think that way in the classroom, because we were thinking of ourselves as the only love that we had was for our older member. That's where the old records say that you're a jealous God. It's because they're actually cultivating a relationship with souls, and spirits are a part of that. Our minds being the more accurate term for spirit that TNW used in 1975. They didn't talk about coming from a spiritual kingdom. They talked about coming from the human individual metamorphosis is what they were teaching in the beginning. That a human had the capacity to biologically and that comes about by mentally taking over the vehicle towards that aim. And the way that we see that in society is more and more, I think, probably, is when people are tackling their addictions or accepting help to tackle their addictions, and and having success, and that Doe taught that that the pharmaceuticals are of a benefit many times, but they all have side effects. So if you can figure out how to do things without the side effects, and of course that's herbs and things, and the authorities were trying to shut that down. I don't know if that was the right or the left doing that. They're really two heads of the same beast. Well, maybe not. They're actually, I think, from what Doe has said about space aliens that have different agendas, that they're in competition with each other, and they're in competition with the next level, and they, some of them, maybe all of them, think that the next level is another space alien race like them, but is aware that they have a technology. Whoever's watching us, they don't have a way to find out when they're being watched, which came out, in my opinion, and made sense to me. That's why I'm thinking that it might have been real, through the Billy Meyer case, to where they had some communication and that they were humans and they had families. And of course, that right away means that it wasn't next level members, because next level members don't have families. But they can have different members of the human kingdom on their spacecrafts, but they don't interfere. They don't want to interfere with the way that we get choices. So we want them to, not we want them, but from the position of the next level, as I understand it, they want to see everybody look to them. So they don't teach you to look to, and it's always been a them. It's always been two individuals. In the records, I mean, during this civilization, I don't know what they did in the previous civilization, but although Doe wondered if they got into outer space in the previous civilization, that then perhaps they did go to Mars, but Doe wondered what they did with the space junk, because it takes a certain amount of time, I guess, for the space junk to rain down on the planet. And they would have needed space junk to evolve into being able to create machines that could be sent out. So anyway, well, see, even Odie's task was to be a partner. She had more. She had more of the. I think she was more in tune with Doe. And she probably carried around the cell phone that we had, because Chuck Odie carried around the one that we had. I didn't want to. I didn't. I was glad of that, because they were good at handling things. Of course, I didn't feel like I had to. I was just honored to be doing a task for Doe. Anyway, so Excuse me, I gotta get some water. Wow. Let's see some. One more thing. By the tree. Oh, passing the tree. Okay, I guess I'm back. Anything going on in the chat? Oh, do you? L Tape says we talk about the next level often. F. Brook, cool. Project Carthage, the other alien races that view themselves as in competition with the next level. What are they in competition over? Resources, souls? Absolutely, souls is one thing, according to Tiendo. And resources, yes, because they try to relate with the government in order to get the government to do their bidding, create spacecrafts. To be able to leave this planet, because the rumors among them, according to Doe, was that they were going to be recycled. And it wasn't just a rumor, it was true that they were going to be recycled because they had become anti-next level, and the next level doesn't, they give you many opportunities to go against them. And if you keep on taking them, then somebody actually loses their mind, doesn't have any next level mind in them. And so they're operating purely on whatever floats their boat, whatever they manufactured for themselves as the reason for their existence. And, to save a dying planet because of the stories that the hybrids heard from the ones that genetically engineered them into existence, and so however it happened, they've had a breeding project going on here, and that was told to us in 1945 about the Hitler's regime with the doctors, and the which goes to where the Nordics had been operating for a long time. Who knows how many races there are of aliens? It's actually it's a crazy word, because the whole word was we were approached with that word, as a toy, as somebody's wacky idea. And but because of mind development, certain people always have an interest in that subject and go to it in various ways, right? And so the next level is being drawn. They're drawing us to them by pretty much everything they do that we can see and taste and feel and everything about us. Of course, that's the spiritual approach that we're all part of the next level, and it's not the case. We're part of them just like a puppy is part of us, but the puppy, we're going to outlive the puppy. I don't know, maybe in some cases you don't. So we have overview of the puppy's life, and so they have that kind of overview of us, and I don't that kind of relationship with us, and so they're happy to see a puppy striving to take in their mind, and you see goodness coming out, and when people are helping each other, that's one of the things that was in the Starman movie, that he said that the best thing about humans was when they were having a hard time. I forgot what the exact words were. And the best in them comes out when they're having some difficulties. Right? And other people are having difficulties, and then they're helping each other. That's what I got from that anyway. And then he portrayed being someone to give up I said this before, some of the tasks or some of the protections that they had in order to accomplish the task. That shows that there was a limit to what the best design would be. So it was an experiment that was geared for certain aspects by the next level. In their education lab, I don't know if that's what you call it. I never heard T&O use that term that way. But, so I probably, I would take it back. I don't know whether that didn't necessarily come from their minds, because we don't get that kind of communication. If anybody says they do, they have it, don't believe them. Don't believe them. Because they wouldn't tell you if they had it. They wouldn't tell you that they had it. And you can lose it. You can lose it all, actually. The next level removed the soul I don't know what happened exactly, but I think they said that when somebody goes back into human behavior, then if they don't recover from that, then they may not make it, to graduate. So, and the way that they might not make it is because the next level will give them help and they'll refuse it because they want to do something else. And they use that subconsciously even as a reason to leave. And that's a positive because I needed that. But I didn't have to. I could have rose to the occasion. And maybe then this vehicle would have graduated with the others. But no, it's like if you look at my actions, it's like I immediately started to grow my hair and beard, I think. And then I immediately went out and rented a flute with the job that I got in Tempe at the one of the resorts there off of Scottsdale Road, and I bought some harmonicas, and I ended up buying a set of drums, congas. I still have them over there. They're little, a conga drum and a quinto drum, so I can, do my street gigs sometimes, which I do, and I enjoy doing, and I can make a little pesos from that. Anyway, enough of that. Yeah, so regarding that what Project Carthage said, um, yeah, see, the space aliens, I believe, when they were no longer allowed to leave the near space around the Earth and the oceans and the land masses where they have perhaps been building bases for a long time, previous civilizations. And but ultimately the next level drew them here, according to Tiendo. But I don't want to get into that right this minute, but well, no, I should say a little bit about it, I guess, since I brought it up. That the next level put out the word among all the planets that they were doing experiments with that that's that I guess they must have had some communication with them. So they might have been like, well, they were of the equivalent kind of age as a new member of the next level, as the one that was called Lucifer and his associates were in their soul body stature, if you want to put it that way, which amounts to the ability to do things that and not do things because of limitations within your vehicle. It's like vehicles with different tools, tool belts. But so I mean, they get the humans to make the things. I was trying to say that. I guess I did. And so then, mine for mine for gold, mine for, those have value in different technologies. So, that's why they were probably. And so the word was put out for individuals that were at that station of growth equivalent to the Luciferians, as I understand it. And I could be wrong about some of this in some ways. They had next level vehicles to some degree of function, and they had a spacecraft that they were assigned. And I don't know what kind of spacecraft that was, but the next level knew everything they were doing. And so when they started to think, well, let's go down there and communicate with those humans there, and it showed that there was something they weren't going to follow the next level's instructions on the task. and and that means that that individual was starting to lose sight of the recognition that the next level gives vehicles that recognizes to some degree their mind, and that would look to humans as being hypnotized by them, and that's what T and Do were accused of doing. But then it didn't resemble any kind of hypnosis that anybody understood, because it required of us to take the steps on a whole bunch of information that we didn't understand. I think we were growing to understand. Oh, where are you, Evie? Evie, go to your spot. Go to your spot, Evie. Okay, I gotta go get her. Make her go to her spot. Go to your spot. Go to your spot, baby. That's good. Good girl. Good girl. She learned quickly. Our cat. So yeah, so if you look at UFO mission, UFO, let's see, UFO cult surfaces with final offer, was that it? Now the name of the USA Today single page advertisement, it's in the Heaven's Gate book. Anyway. That's where he talks about the space aliens quite a bit, for anybody that wants to research things that they've talked about. And that text is available. You can download it from heavensgate.com at the bottom of the book page. And okay, so Mr. Sawkiller says, one of your former classmates wrote on his ETR, "Hasta la vista, baby." That makes me understand that the group saw the movie Terminator 2. What movie besides that did you watch? Well, pretty much every science fiction movie we saw. Probably. In addition to things that I'd like to watch again, but I have to buy it, and I don't really want to buy it. But maybe we will. It's called Quester. It might be called the Quester Tapes. Like Quest, Quest, I think. But maybe or, like an OR. I'm not sure exactly the spelling. But that's one. And then one that Kathy and I watched. Or did we? Maybe we didn't. It's called Man Facing Southeast, which might have been developed in Argentina, maybe. I don't know for sure. Because it's English subtitles. And it's very good because it's about like someone coming, a member of the next level coming from outer space and being interested in starting an orchestra. I mean, just doing that, just moving in that direction. And so he made the people in the... He knew when he came that he would go directly to a psychiatrist's office and be declared insane. And then he would be put in an insane asylum. And that's where he would meet the people that were there because of probably not fitting in, and so they, anyway, I don't want to tell you the whole story. It's worth watching, for sure, in my opinion. And then there was the show that was called My Name Is Nobody. My Name Is Nobody with, I think, Charleston Heston. And and there's a lot of little neat things in that. It's like, and I think what T and Doe said about it was that the the tea part of it. I just lost where I was talking there. Where's it going? Sorry. Got distracted again. I hope to get that back. Okay, that makes me understand that the group saw the movie Terminator. Yeah, right. I just read that one already. Yeah, so, yeah, I believe they did. I wasn't there at that moment. I don't think. I don't know. I don't remember now. I feel like I did watch it before I left the classroom. But some memories kind of fade when you don't use them. What did you think to the movie Mysterious 2? That's that was terrible. T and Doe didn't act like they didn't wear robes. They on purpose, and they even said that in the Bible that the two witnesses would come in sackcloth. Well, sackcloth was the burlap bags that were used, that were stitched together to use as sacks for barley, and the wheat berries were kept by people that could afford it. So they came as ordinary people, not as like through majesty, human majesty. Let's see, another movie. Well, of course, there's the Sound of Music movie. It's I think it's worth seeing. It puts you in a different space. Yeah, I know it's a musical, and so they're singing, and but there's not that much of it, and it's good singing, and there's actually messages there. So they're like, actually, in terms of prophecy, they were completely depicting a man and a woman getting together, those gendered vehicles getting together and singing the song, and and from that they felt like choosing the names T and Doe, and that happened about 1978 or 9 or 7. I'm not sure exactly when. When they changed their names that were Bo Peep until then, from 1975 when I joined to 1997. So for a couple of years, well, they ended up putting on the notes, we would put links. They didn't like to see their names there because it wasn't about them. They were working for their older members. T's older member, and Doe working for his older member who was with him. And what he said about that was, in the Beyond Human tapes, was maybe he needed that help. He didn't know that the task that he was doing was a highfalutin task in the next level. There might be many individuals in the next level that can do the task that he was doing. To actually hear from them is what it's really about. To just hear what their words are. Why is it that they have such a negative idea of them, because of the way they chose to leave these vehicles. Because we were taught, even the Catholic Church was teaching that that was the original sin, actually, suicide. And I'm not in favor of suicide, and we talk, I talk against it all the time because I don't believe that. Well, I know that everybody now, especially, has decided or knows that they need to be in the human kingdom to learn the lessons of, in some cases, why they left, and in some cases, left the group, and in some cases, for the first time to I forgot where I was going on that, but I guess I kind of I feel like I'm talking philosophically more, and it's probably not a good idea. I don't feel like I'm a very good philosopher. Well, except for to the degree that I've interpreted, the Book of Revelations, most of it. But which is what my book is about, the only one I've published. I'd like to publish another one, but I'm not motivated to do the work of organizing something so it's decent. Yeah, I mean, the part in that movie, Mysterious 2, where they're talking about the flute player, I wondered if that was me, but I don't think it was. I think it was actually Ascoti, and I think that was his experience, Oscar. And I met him in approximately 1995 after I left the group, because I don't know that I knew him when we were in Wyoming and northern Colorado and Idaho. And, well, in Utah, actually. Not Idaho, Utah at that point. But, so, yeah, so, because I actually met up with him in Seattle, I think, Oscar. And he had been living in his car in Seattle, working for the government, some capacity. Not, I don't know what it was exactly, but he had stopped playing flute, and he was a trained orchestral player, I think. And I brought my flute with me, I think, but we didn't play. He was interested in where T and Do could be found, not T and Do, but Do and the class, because I think he knew that T had left. By then, I don't know when he found out about that, but in any case, he wanted to connect with them again. And so I said, well, I think the Southwest is the place to go. From Texas to San Diego. And, that area. Because that's where we spent 90% of our time. Which included Colorado and Wyoming. Southern Wyoming, which now it's an official campground, but we were camping there in the Medicine Bow National Forest in 1975, 6 actually, around July started, and we were in different groups because there might have been about 100 of us. I don't know exactly because T and Do were organizing it, who would go where. So, we just hopped in other people's cars, or if we brought a car, then people hopped in our car when we needed to go someplace. Because anyway, so that's kind of what was happening. There was probably a meeting once a week, probably for a little while, or maybe once every 2 weeks. I don't know how long it took sometimes to transit between cities, because we were doing it as a mission at first. This is part of the reason why making trying to mute people. Well, I don't want to get into that. Well, it's just not a next level way to mute people that you don't agree with for something, and not let them like even provide the evidence. I'd love to be able to play clips of tapes. I'm not going to take it out of context, because the last thing I want to do is give anybody a false impression. Well, they could do it. Let them do it if they want. We could work together and do it. Anyway, Magic Made Me says, you were supposed to be here. Who else who connect with us with all this stuff? That's how I feel. Well, I appreciate that. What I feel like is the next level response to that idea is that the next level actually, it's kind of a long story, but they know what you're up against. They regulate what we're up against. They can keep somebody from being affected by the unseen world critters that would hammer on them in their heads, that can actually take people over. And so they have to do that because the next level mind that they give to each of the human vehicles that they choose to be potentially part of the experiment of giving that soul the opportunity to grow strength by taking it over in a next level way according to the next level's instructions, and then by gaining that strength of mind actually be able to qualify to maneuver with all its facilities a next level grown vehicle that's grown on a vine for them to adulthood, so that there's no baby process going on, because the vehicle isn't in use until it's ready to be clipped from that vine, so to speak. And those vehicles can be all the different kinds of vehicles, all different colors of vehicles, all different shapes, and a vehicle could even be a spacecraft. I mean, maybe that doesn't sound far out to you all, because you all probably have watched more science fiction than I have, although I'm maybe catching up with you. But anyway, when I heard that in 1975, it was like, whoa, that's something else to think about. At the next level can, that they put the moon into place. The next level, we're talking about a crew of individuals, a lab that's designed to move a body to another body. And they have the scientific knowledge and technology to do it. And it may, now to observers on Earth, it may look like, I don't know what, it may look like a comet coming in. And they're able to make that comet end up being a moon, for all I know. I have no idea. But but they have that technology and to do things with the sun. That's why, Jesus said that you would see signs in the sun and the moon and the stars. And the stars, comets to me, and the fireballs, they're stars. And like I said before, like even if humans were creating it and the space aliens were creating it, you're seeing more of it now because the next level has withdrawn. And so now it's being made into another way of having approval for programs and for the development of laser weapons and all kinds of weapons in order to fight what they're being told by some of the space aliens are the bad space aliens, the ones from Orion, right, with the Greys from Orion, and that they're all clones, that are coming here when they showed themselves, or in some of the wrecks of those spacecrafts in Roswell and Aztec and Laredo and Paradise Valley and Arizona and I don't know if there were any others, or maybe some in the 50s as well, or 60s even. We don't have any idea. They could, anytime, they could send some members down through that method of losing their whatever physical body, biological physical body they had, that was to some degree capable of still reversing to a reverse metamorphosis. And that's what Doe said happened to Adam. That because he didn't follow his instructions, and he wasn't satisfied with just being alone, having a task for his older member. And see, the older members don't dictate that loyalty. They do anything but dictate it. So every time I say it, I get this attack. It says, oh yeah, those dictatorial older members, gods, right? Telling you what you can say and what you can't say, what you can do, what you can't do. And right, and there's many facsimiles of that. And we see the examples of where those facsimiles go in the world and how so much is truly the Maya illusion. And part of the Babylon, the new Babylon, is the new world of confusion. That's what that word even means. And the next level pays attention to the meanings of words, because they want to give us clues of the direction in which a member of the next level would be observing these things and thinking about what they might mean, and asking the next level, the older member, and that's what T and Doe were doing the whole time. They were asking their older members. Well, T didn't ask. I mean, I don't think Doe asked T anything when they were living in the same quarters. That doesn't make sense to the other things that they taught about relationships. That because you've got the amount of mind that T's older member gave. Well, that T already has the capacity of regulating the amount of mind that that individual would need in order to take over a human vehicle and help wake Doe up and get some awakening for herself from the experience, and both perform the task of graduating the souls that they sent here as part of that asking or not asking. I don't know how they actually drew them here. Well, let's say they allowed them to discover a wormhole. And so they were able to zip over to here. I don't know where the entrance would be. Maybe way beyond Pluto. Anyway, but just like T and depicted in the movie idea, that they said was fiction based on the truth. That's what they called the movie The Meeting. Fiction based on the truth. That was already copyrighted if anybody has an idea about it. By that was copyrighted by Alodi, Kododi, and Dansodi. And Kododi and Dansodi have left their vehicles. And Dansodi Alodi left his vehicle with the group, but Dansodi and Kododi, sorry, they were they left the group in around 1990, 1988 even, as early as 88, 89 or 90, I think. And Dansodi is seen on certain documentaries after 1997. Anyway, okay, I'll see you, Mr. Soul Killer, maybe. So, it doesn't really matter whether I was supposed to be here or not. I don't think it works that way in the next level. They give you what they know you can do if you ask them for help and take their advantage of what they give you to do and change and adjust to and work on. And so, so I was, in a sense, I feel like I thought, well, T actually nailed it. She said that I was a little too pleased with myself. That meant that I thought I was doing a good job. And I proved that, actually, before I even, I proved that because I remember questioning T in my mind and saying, no, T, I don't want to be a little bit, no, I don't want to be, I'm not too pleased with myself. No, I see. No, it was about the other one. Likes to be seen as something special. And I would say to T in my head, no, T, I don't want to be seen as something special. I want to be something special. And then I felt like I got back from T. If you want to be something special, then you would become a member of the next level. And she was she was exactly right that I was full of myself. Because I asked T for a task like Doe had. This is embarrassing, actually, really, if you think about it. It says that I was, I thought that I could compare with Doe. And then T opened the gates of those lower forces. And it didn't take hardly anything to all of a sudden not know how to deal with the sensuality feelings. And then a year later, I left. So, it didn't need to happen that way. It's, and and yes, it was a failure. But I don't like, stay up at night. Maybe I wish I would stay up at night thinking, how could I not be a failure this time? Uh, to be honest with you, I don't think I've asked that way. It takes guts to ask questions of the next level, because the next level will give you a way to get what you want. If it's within what they know is for your benefit towards becoming a member of the next level, if that's something that you still identify with wanting. And you have to prove that to them by your actions. And we don't know what those, we know what they told us, the formula. And the formula is a huge formula. Some people looking at it, look at that major offense list and lesser offense list as like, holy smokes, you can't do anything. You're becoming a robot. And yeah, you're trying to make your vehicle into a robot that accepts every command. And because the vehicle fights back with its mind and its body by acting in certain ways and wanting certain things and having emotional feelings and things like that, then converting them into working only towards the positivity of becoming a member of the next level in your mind, even though you don't know what that is, it was trained on us. I mean, our vehicles were trained to have that basic understanding that the next level takes people with them, with their bodies, if that's the way they want to do it. And yeah, the prophecies all have their fluidity, and that's a big example of what Tiendo taught. The next level had a lot of, but they used the word flexible, and because they're working with the species that they've been developing. And they know that it's getting to the point to where the humans have, intoxicated the planet with sensuality of all its forms, including the putting the family on the pedestal, which is not bad. It's not wrong, but it's not the ultimate that, by my understanding, a member of the next level would become a candidate for. And that's all. I mean, they're just not going to be a candidate for the next level because they're looking for individuals that identify with their roots to a degree to where they know that they're evolving to something that's more, it's futuristic. It's more real because they don't die, they don't have disease, they're not forced to lose their vehicles. Or they might give their vehicles like they might have done in the crashes. I believe Tiendo believed that that's how they came. That because they even told T once said that that there was a briefing in the next level, and that during the briefing they were standing in front of a bunch of other members of the next level that were in that spacecraft with them, and that had some kind of vehicles, and that around the back of them were, well, what I recognize would be there were individuals that didn't have a next level vehicle. Let me put it that way. And I say individuals, and so what I'm really saying, I think, is souls. In other words, souls that were planted and grew enough to where the next level saved that genetic seed, and then or allow it to populate more or whatever. Who knows what they would do? Because that's a whole lab that does that. um, because they know that it's through use of the vehicle to learn lessons. And that's why I'm against suicide, which was right in line with what T and Doe said. Well, not T wasn't in her vehicle at the time, so I shouldn't assume that. But Doe and crew said, uh, um, our position against suicide. And then they described two forms of suicide. And at first they said that they always try to keep their vehicles in the best health they can be in for use for as long as the next level would have them performing a task here. And so because of that, Doe tried experimenting with lots of different natural foods diets and growing our own sprouts and all kinds of things. And we had ALERT, Advanced Life Research Team, Life Extension Research Team. And anyway, I don't know why I got into that again, because I said something about that before. But like maybe the Transfiguration Diet book is on the screen right now. And I did get around to putting some captions on a lot of these, so I hope that's handy. But okay, let's see what else. Did Theodore ever give commentary on current events at the time, during your time in the group? Some pretty amazing world events happened during the group's existence. Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's commentary throughout the audio tapes, but it's not a lot. Yeah, they may, in proportion to everything else, I would say maybe they spent 5% of the time on current events. By dropping a name or dropping an article, or students asking about, because they provided us with Scientific American at first when we moved into houses. I don't think we had them. I don't know if we had them when we were living in tents. We had Psychology Today. We had newspapers sometimes. And we had, we were on a ticker tape once we moved into houses that was coming through from AP. And it just put words on the screen and, and showed you the times and stuff like that. It was just what was coming over the wire that was going to the newsrooms. And so that was kind of neat. I don't know if they have that anymore. I didn't see them watch, T and Doe watch The Mysterious Two. I don't think we watched it as an instruction. Was really called an assigned task. And that would be given to the video crew, and they would put the post in the book that told everybody in the craft about it, and we would check that book frequently throughout our day if we were in the craft, and we would check it when we got back from an out-of-craft task, a job in the world, of which I had many of. First in cooking, and for about 5 years, and then my experience went into computers because T and Doe wanted to have a better schedule that they could rely on, and they liked the increase in wages that would come with our efforts. And and then it also enabled us to get the technology, and that was ended up using a Macintosh to end up publishing that book, The Transfiguration Diet, that was sold then to Dr. John Christopher's son, actually, and who set up I don't know if it's the same school of natural healing the whole time with Dr. Christopher, but it's in Utah. And I met with a doctor, not doc, I don't know if he's a doctor, but Mr. Christopher, Mr. David Christopher. Kathy and I met with him and in Utah, and we asked him if we could use the material from the Transfiguration Diet book. And he said, like, not in its entirety, but you could use parts of it. And, so it just, I guess, depends on how much we would use it. Because that would be actually a common law copyright kind of thing to do. So that people would use, not make it into a commercial enterprise. But they weren't even saying that you couldn't do that. And Doe he wasn't lacking making money from working more for the next level. And in fact, in the Transfiguration Diet book, the original one and the original cover, it's got a program on the back of it to have membership. And I can't help but look at that as an example of something we could do. And they provided paraphernalia and a newsletter, and I wouldn't mind doing that. And people could have membership, and they could feel a part of that. I mean, people might say that, oh, now that's becoming a religion. And you know what? If it goes in that direction, it'll probably be well after I'm out of this vehicle. So, and that's from the next level's perspective, that's what happens. And what happens then is less focus is put on the urgency of taking advantage of time to become a member of the next level. So, it's like, because they know that the lower forces will get you. They have to. When you leave, to some degree, they have to get you. And that can make you think, well, then if I'm not acting exactly the way that it would take to graduate, then I might as well not try to do anything. That would be a defeatist attitude. That wouldn't be the way that a member of the next level would act. They would make a positive of it. And yeah, there's a danger. We can make a positive of it in a way that takes people's eyes off the specifics that they taught for becoming a member of the next level. Because they want that to be imprinted on many minds. Because if it is, then when that soul leaves that vehicle, they will recognize that same idea in the next vehicle that the next level sends them to take over. And they will know it. They will feel like, well, I know that. Because they experienced it to some degree, or they heard about it, or I don't know what the guidelines are for when a soul is absorbing enough of the next level mind. Well, I think they said that there's next level mind in the genes as well. But my understanding is that it gets very suppressed and becomes a subtle and more subtle voice. And so it's like the person that, is battling over whether they're going to take some kind of action. And once they take the action, if they do, they might have got something from it, and it might have had a cost that they didn't anticipate having, and so they might not want to take that action again, to take a chance on a positive, if that's hopefully what it was, not taking a chance on a negative. In other words, a positive to other people and a positive to, if people don't know about it, it's not a positive to them. It's just, it doesn't. I don't think it contributes to some group mind, although it does spread. So I shouldn't say that. positivity as a way of, you know, being infectious. But see, infection isn't the word for it, of course, because we think of infection as the stimulus of that positivity. I think that's that way anyway. But because there is no lab for negativity in the next level, they said that. And so whenever you hear a voice inside your head putting you down, that's not positivity. Even if it's something that you feel like you're guilty of, that you did, for them to be reminding you of it is wrong. It's not a next level way. You don't want to push somebody's face into something, and you don't want them to even push their face into it, except in a way to where they identify that they have a weakness. Weaknesses from the next level perspective. And the next level knows that we have weaknesses. That's why they help us pick vehicles. And I say us, I'm talking about everybody right now, potentially. There's nobody that's excluded from graduating to their own next level awareness. And the quickest route to that is going to be through Tiando's information. Because everything they said was exactly the way, and they even talked about the mistakes that they felt that the instruction to make. Because they're willing to do whatever it takes, but the older members don't ever have them do anything to hurt themselves or anybody else. But they were given the second form of suicide is suicide against becoming a next level member. Because that's actually a real birth. Because there is all this, talk about the paranormal and spirits and ghosts and UFOs and it all has its superstition associated with it, right? And all the conspiracy theories, associated with it. But it's a reality that there are different degrees of, like a plasma, that's within our atmosphere. So it's got physicality to it, but just like the wind, you can wave your arm and you see, maybe that's what people see on an acid trip, or maybe it's just something strictly in their brain, or the interpretation of what is happening in the waves, as being this colorful arm going by slowly when you do it slowly, but it goes by slower. And so for anybody that hasn't experienced that, it's like the arm is catching up with itself. And you're seeing all that in all kinds of bright colors. I remember when I went to college, and I was walking to town with other students in this Beckley College. It's just water, drinking water from the store, Walmart. Anyway, am I going to lose that train of thought or not? I guess I will. Yeah, there's too many current events that they talked about, but I'll give you one example. They talked about Ross Perot as perhaps being a good president because he had run a successful corporation, and 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 so they were thinking about whether they would give us a task to go vote. They wouldn't have told us who we had to vote for, but if we wanted to be in tune with their mind, we would have chose to vote. If we knew that they were going to vote for Ross Perot, they would have probably chose that. But they probably would have just left us to it. If let's say we went ahead with it, and some people didn't, because we had an example with the rings. But I'm not going to go into that more now. Let's see. So, yeah, I don't know that we experienced. I don't remember experiencing that much in terms of lines and things. In Was the gas deal in '76? Was it? See, because we weren't out and about during that time. Because we were living outdoors from 1970 for the students from '75, from about April of '75 to approximately November of 1980, or a little after that. So yeah, so we heard about AIDS because we watched the news, and like I said, we had streaming news. At one point, they had TVs in every room, even bathrooms, so that if you were doing a task, even if you were like stretching in the rest chamber, or doing some kind of push-ups or something, because they encouraged us to use machines to stay, have good cardiovascular going and stuff, not to build muscle. In fact, some of the students clicked right into that idea of building muscle, And when Tiendo found out about it, they said that's not why we're doing it. We're doing it so that the vehicle will be healthier. It needs that cardiovascular and that breathing, heavy breathing, and yeah, the fall of the USSR. I think they did probably comment on that. Was that 1980 when Reagan was in office? That was an interesting year when Reagan was talking about the threat from space, well before we had these space satellites. I don't think, and knew how many things we weren't aware of. Learned. Yeah, the Challenger disaster. I feel like I was in the classroom when that happened. I remember that, seeing that in the news. Yeah, exactly. They might have talked about the Berlin Wall falling. Uh, well, uh, yeah, they were probably watching the media more than we were because we had satellite dishes, two of them because we had more than one house. We had sometimes three houses, and all would have been decent houses by that time because we were making more money then as computer programmers and other technical jobs that we were able to get. And so we would take these. We made stands for them. I went with Lagodi. Lagodi was given the primary task of designing and building a stand that would hold the satellite dish so that we could take it apart when we moved and take it with us to the next place where we were going to be camping or living. Sometimes we put them up in the front lawns of the houses that we were renting. Putting a pole in the ground and then having access to all the things that the evangelicals were talking about and having access to the news stations that were, the wire system or whatever was coming across satellite dishes. You could, if you knew the address of it, or you could search for something, by just going through the bands. And so we were doing that. We were moving them around, and so the view that we were sheltered or whatever, who knows what they're saying about us, was completely true and false. It's totally false in the context of what we were allowed to do. Because we were allowed to leave anytime we wanted to, and people did. They left in the middle of the night because the door was open going out. But we had the door locked coming in. So, and we did have, Riccoti left in the middle of the night with Ecody one time. And Riccoti ended up somehow getting back in touch. I can think of a few different ways, like Flexody and Windody, who also left, and probably during the time that Riccoti was outside the classroom. And so Riccoti had a way to be in touch because T and Doe were staying in touch with them because they wanted to be in touch with T and Doe before they left. And some didn't want to be in touch with T and Doe after they left, and I was one of those. Kind of sorry to say. Not that I regret anything that's happened. I feel like I've had it very easy, really. I got a big inheritance when I had run up $50,000 worth of debt after I had declared bankruptcy years before that. And so, so I took that inheritance and I paid it off the second time. Which was not easy for me to do, but I thought it might have been the right thing to do because T and Doe really didn't like the credit system. They felt like people can do more than they're capable of doing, that money buys. And but then using that system was also something that they approved of, and that's why we had credit cards. And that's why Doe used a credit card, and T used a credit card when they were waking up. Because it was more important to accomplish the task for the next level, and this can be twisted, of course, as a justification, like everything. But that's the old cover of the Transfiguration Diet book. The new one that Dr. David Christopher, I don't know if he's a doctor again, but published. I talked about before a little bit. That's the picture from that book. And there's probably a big delay in what I'm talking about, what's on the screen. Sunshine. Oh, I know who that is. Wow, that might be nice. Yeah, we've got yeah, sunshine. We'll think about that. I don't know if Kathy's still on the chat. Yeah, the fall of the USSR was 1991. Well, I was still in the classroom in 1991, so my memory of it. But see, in the 90s, we weren't glued to the news as much because we were starting to go public. That's when Doe was having students pair up as a partnership to make a presentation on video, and then that was shown to all the students, and then the students commented on them. Uh, I think they commented to T and O directly, and then from not T and O because T was outside our vehicle at the time, and then and fr- and and that's how I ended up becoming somebody that uh, don't want to use as a helper on the in the small way that I was, but in the positive energy I was also putting out, which I can't think that I had anything but positive energy on my mind at that point. Uh, so um, the Beyond Human tapes, right? I got into talking about myself there, right? Uh, that's not good. See, that led me off the track of what I was responding to. Let me see if I can get it back. Oh, the USSR, and I was talking about that time period in 1991. Right, because of yeah. So 91. So 92 is when the Beyond Human tapes were being made. So we were in California. We were working out of two warehouses. One was the modern warehouses. One was in Orange County, and one was in Orange County, but closer to well, Escondido, I guess, and but still in well, anyway. So we had our trailers parked inside that we were living in the desert before that, in Phoenix area, when we were fasting on water, and and so actually our minds weren't on the news because we were also writing and submitting our writings to Doe and his helpers, Jan Odie and Liv Odie, primarily, even though there were others that, like June Odie, that was a helper with Doe sometimes. And maybe that was Czech Odie sometimes, and Soon Odie sometimes was definitely a helper for T and Doe together, and others, a few others, but Lagodi. Anyway, I shouldn't be trying to maybe go in that kind of detail because it's like I know the tendency then is to, no, never mind. I'm not going to think the negative of that. So waste on time on that. Okay, see, that's an example, I think, I could be wrong, of my mind stepping in and saying, don't go in that direction because it's not going to be a value. And I'm not saying that everything I do is a value or I even go through that analysis. I don't. But it's a good place to be. I mean, if you want to stay ahead of your vehicle, I think we all have practice with it when we don't say things that come to our mind. And so that's what the classroom was doing. And they were trying to do it round the clock. And the criteria was the thinking and the terminology and everything about what T and O were giving us. And if we showed rebellion to that, they would want to know whether we wanted to address that rebellion or we wanted to go with it and leave because of it. And sometimes, like in Frank's case, Doe talked with him about it and I think encouraged him to stay and deal with it, the issue. And he chose not to. And Doe did the same thing to me. So Doe was always living up to exactly who he and T said they were. And that can be shown by thousands and thousands of examples throughout the audio tapes. That's where the in-depth understanding that they talked about in the letter to Mark that we ended up getting because Mark gave it to Rick Odie and Rick Odie gave it to Carl Odie. And Carl Odie gave it to me, the letters. And now they've been submitted to the courts to try to defend our right to participate in our, if you want to put, the religion on it, our religion. Don't refer to us. He knew that people would see us as a religion. So we are a religion, okay? Even though religions are the number one killers of souls, that's referring to the past religions, all of them, because they become traps that people end up thinking that they're going to some heavenly place when they die for believing in that religion and changing their behaviors in certain ways. And yeah, that can be a stepping stone. But it's also, if people get into it and they stay in it, that mindset, and they don't start looking at alternative ways of thinking, especially when they get all kinds of signals about those things, and they they want to just stick, you got to stick to what Paul said here. This is the truth. If you don't, and then Paul never even sat with Jesus. So the dichotomy of that is, atrocious. That would ever be, anything he said would ever be used as a dictate. And yet you see all these people in the different denominations of the Christian religion saying that a woman's place is in the home because of what Paul said. Paul was trying to say that he had the gift of prophecy and that everybody doesn't have that gift, and to not feel bad about it because everybody has their service, which is true, completely true. Nobody lacks experience by having a different gender. No. They do gain more experience by that soul being in a different gendered vehicle. I think that's fair to say, although I don't know if Tiendo ever said that I can remember. And so I'm going to say I could be wrong about that. I can be wrong about a lot of things in the way I say things compared to the ultimate rightness is going directly to them and what they said and wrote and left behind for us, which includes everything. All options are on the table in that material. Nobody is doing anything wrong in that material, but there are people that are in the first category that were the individuals that were with him and recognized him as their older member and were taking a chance on what they believed was the positive. That might be the least person that chose to leave. I would, maybe there could be another form of thinking that's a little different than that, but it's when the person might say, well, I don't know if that's the right thing for me to do, and but they deal with it and decide, like, see, I experienced this, where I said to Doe that my vehicle didn't want to go through the operation to remove my vehicle's testicles, but I was overriding my vehicle by wanting to have that operation. And yet the real reason I wanted to have that operation wasn't totally a bad one. I don't think. Bad relative to moving away from the human kingdom and mammalian lifestyle. And that's the good part of the reason why we exist. To be able to rise to that occasion, just like the mineral kingdom has its foundation giving to the plant kingdom, and then getting back, of course, and creating that cycle. And then the plant kingdom is giving to the animal kingdom and the human kingdom. And the animal kingdom is in service to the human kingdom. It's so T and O were saying, well, there's another evolutionary kingdom level above that. And those are scientific terms used for a long time. My understanding is that they talked about evolution as kingdom levels. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it was only in a few cases because, yeah. I mean, those kind of things can happen because the next level kind of helps them happen too. They have a crew that helps keep their terminology alive. I'm not saying that Bastille from the Greek was a thought that the next level gave to someone doing a task for them, which can be any human. Any human that can tune into certain things, the next level can decide to give an idea to help them develop something that they want to see developed, like electricity, for instance. And so, to that degree, they're working with, trying to supply the best nutrition. And nutritional health is the reason for a lot of our problems. But we have our, issues with food to where we are sacrificing our lives, perhaps, to some degree. But then there's all kinds of balances and there's all kinds of ways of cleansing. So we can try to have the best health for as long as possible. I certainly can't say that, even with struggles, it's easy to, have thoughts go through your head. Well, gosh, this is so bad that why do I even want to be here? That's an easy place to go. It's been made an easy place to go. And the next level has a hand in that. But even though it was not easy at all for Doe to bring that out, and he showed it. I'm not just saying it. He showed it. You'll see it in the tapes over the years. And there was nothing, treading lightly on in that subject. But it's also really, putting your money where your mouth is. Do you really feel like you know that you are not that vehicle entirely? And you learn that you're not the vehicle the more you take the vehicle over. Because you'll see that you didn't need that addiction that you had. You could live fine without it. And you'd probably be doing the same things that you'd be doing when you were on the substances. And I know all about being on substances, so I don't have experience with a lot of things, but and not recent experience with much besides weed. But I'm glad of that. And I'm glad I'm a teetotaler. But you cannot stay a teetotaler, because it has a way of drawing you in to where somebody could be doing, all the time. Every time they go out, like if they're in a circumstance that's got some difficulties in it, like I had at one point, every time I would go out, I would smoke before I left the house. Or I'd smoke in the backyard and then go to the car and take my daughter somewhere. Or, or go to the grocery store even. And it was more fun in the grocery store when I was stoned. But then that had a detriment, being groggy and I couldn't write. And I would try to write, and I would feel motivated to write. And I had all these ideas and, ways of saying things, and I was going to massage it, and do all that. And then when I would read it, when I was straight, I would realize that I was just talking mumbo jumbo. And that I would have to edit it. And it would have taken more time to edit it than to just say it again when I was straight. And so that got me off of using for a while. Thank goodness. I had enough sense to get that task done. Even though I feel like I took longer than I needed to. Because I kept on growing it. The more and more I worked on the book of Revelations, the more and more I was looking at and saying, well, that looks like what Tiendo did. Like when the woman was taken up into the mountains. And when Tiendo, the woman and the man, actually, were taken. Well, it wasn't said that the man was with her at the time, I think. But the man was her son, was born from her. And that's exactly the relationship that Tiendo said that they had. That Do realized. He didn't say, I'm your older member. I don't think. If he did, he never told us that she said that. And I think he would have told us that she said that, but it doesn't really matter. It's just a word game, really. I mean, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? And they said that the chicken came first in order to know how to lay the egg so that it would become a chicken. So that's, kind of interesting, right? And they said that, Doe also said that that the next level does instigate um, diseases. And for various reasons, it's the same way that a farmer is treating their prize crop. They're working with it. They're trying to hone it so that it lasts longer on the shelf, hopefully not losing its nutrition, and it gets whatever it is. And that's what the next level does. And humans that do that, they're not bad, are they? But somehow people think that the next level does it. Then there's something evil about the next level. When they use the kingdom levels, because they know that there's no harm that can come from whatever they do, because the mind is what's being harvested. The mind that chooses to become like its older member. And the reason why they choose to become like their older member is because they see that more and more what they say makes sense. Even if we don't understand it from a number of perspectives. We just know that they know. That's the way I felt about them. I knew they knew what they were talking about. And I knew it was what I was looking for. And I felt like my life went before my eyes, in a sense. That everything that happened so that I could be in that spot. And even I started to look at when I moved to Canada in 1971 or 2. And I was living in the mountains of the Wells Gray Provincial Park, right beneath the park in British Columbia. And somehow I got it into my head that if I left the country, I could come back in and be able to stay longer. Even though the logic of that was completely baloney. Because they didn't keep track of who was going across the border. I don't even know if they just looked on the license and they didn't even really care. There was no interrogation. They didn't run anything because there was nothing to run. So sure, a certain amount of people got across the border with fake IDs and stuff. So yeah, that's just the way it was. But anyway, and another reason why it was dumb to go across into the United States and come back in thinking that I'd have a new lease on staying in Canada was that I owned a British Columbia truck with a British Columbia license plate. And I drove that over the border. And then I tried to get back in, and they said, "Are you living in Canada?" And I said, "No." Because if I said yes, they would say you're not allowed to live in Canada. But I had a British Columbia truck. Holy smokes. So that's probably the reason why I got caught. Because I ended up going to the next border crossing and thinking about getting some wire cutters and going across farmland into Canada. And fortunately, I had the idea that that's not a good idea. Not a good idea to do that. And so drove to the next border crossing towards the east, because that was probably Bellingham, Washington. Or maybe not. Maybe it was the Okanagan Valley crossing into Canada, into northern Washington state. By Yakima and Wenatchee. Anyway, so we drove down there. Well, the reason I was bringing that up was because I wanted to be in Canada. I cried at the border. And because I thought that was a good place to get a cheap piece of land and build a cabin on it to live in. Didn't have any, I had no idea what I was going to experience. But that got me out west, because there was a lot of there was a big movement to California, of course, but also in Canada, there was a big movement to go to from Montreal to wherever, to Vancouver. And I caught that bug early on when I would travel up to Montreal to hang out with my friends. Anyway, but too much personal history. Okay, hour away. I don't know when you said that. It's been a while since I looked at the chat. Okay, I'm just fall of the U.S. Yeah, I'm about an hour away. All right, I think I guess maybe I'll end the stream. I'm getting kind of tired. I didn't come prepared to show talk about T&O tape. That's not good. I like to include something about a tape, and maybe I still will. Yeah, I could still do that. There's no reason why I couldn't do that. Although I like to do it when Kathy's here, because she listens to the tapes too, so we both get add our input. I like that, so I'm not going to talk about that now. Okay. Good evening, old school Dave. I could always finish with a little tooting of my horns. Hmm. Yeah. Boy, I'm not able to play this very well right now. I thought I did a better job before. Maybe I'm tuckered out. It does take energy. I gotta blow a lot of air through this. So maybe I'm just tired. I have been sweating in here. It's probably about 86. Alright, then I'll do something else that's easier. That's when a difficulty comes along. Then reach up to the next level for help. Ask T&O for help. I think it's a good idea. I'm not telling people to do it. I am. I'm suggesting it. Oh, getting a matcha right now, and then heading back. That was at 5:49 p.m. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9:49. So I'm expecting my beautiful partner to be back in about 40 minutes. That's Lagodi, that's Melody. That's Chekodi on the right and Norodi on the left. What an older member, next level above human, also known as Kingdom of Heaven vehicle may look like. That is not the one that's copyrighted. By Mark and Sarah. That's Surodi and Questodi on the left. Surodi at the beach at, I think, Santa Monica Pier, where his group did a meeting with Junodi as his partner, I think. And then that's Stamodi and Sunodi, left and right. And that's Starodi and Glenodi. Glenodi changed his appearance quite a bit by shaving his head. And the way he did. And that's Vern Odie on the left and Alex Odie on the right, known as David. And that's, I forgot her name. She was a new member in 94. I wasn't in there very long in 94, so I don't recognize them as well as quickly. And I'm a bit tired. WHN, I think, was her name on the left. And the other one was Iris Orty on the right, who joined in 94. So someone named Ken just came in here. Okay. Hey, Ken. The student final statements was sad to me, but they felt they were doing the right thing with what they believe. Yes, I understand that. Yep, I value that as well. Um, it wasn't. It wasn't a. It was definitely known by them that it would be a traumatic experience for some people that loved them. Liv Odie shows the most evidence of dealing with that when she started to cry a little bit. And some people said that she was having second thoughts. She wasn't having any second thoughts. Well, I mean, even if she was having second thoughts, I shouldn't say what she was having and what she wasn't. That would be wrong of me. Very ignorant of me to say that. So I take that back. See, that's where I got to watch out. Sometimes I can think I know something so well when Tiendo, if it wasn't in her head, see, that would be a red flag. If I was somebody that was pretending to be a leader of a new group, and let's say I said something like that, to me that anybody would be in their rightful thinking would see that as a red flag. Because how could he know that? And that's what happened to a lot of people that joined groups. But a lot of times what happens is we justify it in our minds, even though it can be a major justification in reality. And we stay with it because we're having fun, or we're getting our own uplift of being close to this person that other people are considering to be a teacher or a so-called cult leader or a religious teacher. And it can be in other veins as well, a scientific teacher, and of course, the same thing happens in academia, where students get attached to the teachers, but a next level teacher doesn't get attached to his students. Well, not the same way that we have attachment. There's something that forms that I don't know if it's painful for my older member. It probably is, because it's like any parent that loves one of their children, because they cared about us, and I saw that without necessarily being a very observant person. I mean, the tapes are full of it, but they also are full of their teachings to do exactly as they were giving us to do, but and helping us understand what that meant was a process. I didn't have any idea that I had the characteristics of likes to be seen as something special, a little too pleased with self, and sarcastic with humans. I didn't think if you would have asked me what would your behavior do, what would I have to do to not be in the classroom, and I probably would have said, well, try to have sex with somebody, because they don't want people trying to do that. We're trying to outgrow human mammalian behaviors and ways. So that's probably what I would have said. But to think that the things that T gave me that would keep me off the spacecraft is what she said. She gave me through a note, and I understood that she was giving notes to everybody, which we didn't realize was like a farewell note because of how soon she left after that. And the things that would keep us off the spacecraft. That's what she cared about the most. That shows, when they say that When Terry said that, Terry's ignorant that T was not a hypocrite at all. It looked hypocritical to her because to her, I believe, it was ignorant means not being willing to look at the reason as possibly being that she was exactly who she said she was. I mean, why wouldn't somebody consider what they became in their minds to actually being able to understand it? But of course, we all only reach up so far. That's an object that was seen in the sun. There it is again. It's like a donut shape. So somebody recently showed me a donut shape like that during the eclipse, actually. No, not the donut shape, but another object that actually sucked energy from the sun, according to what we saw in the past in space, where we saw this object that was attached to the sun, and then it let loose, and you saw a long umbilical cord letting loose, coming out of the sun. I don't know if I have that video here, but I should be able to play that sometimes for somebody. I do... Oh, Ken was laying down the vehicle down, always a part of the teachings. Was laying the vehicle down always a part of the teachings? I don't think it would be discussed. I just don't think it would be discussed. And yes and no. It was like, the way I thought about it was that I felt like I recognized Tiendo as being the return of the next level. And I hadn't been a Christian before that. My vehicle was born a Catholic, but I rejected that early on. But I still had the basic premises in my head, of course. And so at that point, they were thinking that T knew that you could go into the next level with your human vehicle. But what she didn't describe about what it would take to do that, we later learned meant that you had to take it through a transition. And if you could take that vehicle through that transition very quickly, then the next level could choose to take you with your vehicle and allow you to even demonstrate that to the people that got to know you. And but that didn't happen because T felt that the bar needed to be raised that allowed for Lucifer to be in the next level and still go against the next level by leaving and starting his own kingdom, starting to teach the things he wanted to teach to the human occupants of the planet. And the next level knew they were going to do that, but they wanted individuals that were growing, their souls were growing from whatever planets, to have the experience of someone who got into the next level and then dropped out and went against the next level, because that's freedom of choice. That's complete freedom of choice. Now, they regulate that because they know that those lower forces can overcome any of us. So they see to it that they only have the ability to, but they can overcome us if we don't ask for help. And that can take on pretty much any form of asking for help. It has nothing to do with religions. It has nothing to do with anything but reaching outside ourselves for help. Some people say that that's a bad thing. That's to think that we can't get help from ourselves because we're all gods. Some people believe that. And so to be reaching outside of ourselves, to them, is a blasphemy. Like weakness, that you can't handle it when you can handle it. So there are humans that, that's the way they think. And anyway, but I forgot why I got into all that. So, back to Ken's question, laying down always a part of the teachings. No, didn't start off that way. And it changed when when the national news came out, claiming that Tiendo were telling people to leave everything behind to join them and to be picked up by a UFO. So that set national news off for months and years. Trickling into all the periodicals and everything. But because of that, Tiendo were feeling like they were dead. They felt like the mission was dead, I think the words they used. And that there's no point in continuing because people weren't going to take them seriously. And then they realized sometime after that, hours or days, a few days, that the credibility was already wiped out by what they were teaching. And probably the fact that they both were in jail. And Doe was a convicted felon. And so they decided, well, this feels like we were shot down in the streets. And because, they were claiming that people were joining them and they were going to commit suicide. And there were people that were saying that, they're going on a UFO and they're telling me that in a phone call that they'll never see them again, and things like that. So it was freaking people out. And so Tiendo decided that, well, then they felt like their minds opened up, and they on the third day, and of going through that. And they felt like they were going to go to the students and tell them that they could understand if they didn't follow them anymore because they were changing a major part of what they had said was going to happen. And that was what was called the demonstration. And that meant, according to the Book of Revelations, that's where I believe Tiendo were influenced by, and I think even rightly so, by the next level design, that Tiendo even designed it to be that way, happen this way, because of all the options that it gave people to not believe in them. So that they'd have to really show that they had a connection when they were in front of Tiendo, because that's when the souls that were brought back to take over human vehicles were brought to that same spot. Literally, the geography. And so there was a lot of focus there that was actually keeping out all the thoughts that would be negative, unless somebody was in the habit of listening to a lot of negative thoughts before that, and then they might just hear what Tiendo said and think, "Oh, that's stupid," or "That's," or someone else might be, "Well, that doesn't sound right," or "That's hard. I don't believe that. I don't think that was right." But then they think, "But maybe it was right for them." They might have a thought like that, like Ken kind of expressed that they believed what they believed, and that should be a right. And they talk about that in the book of having a lenient euthanasia program. Um, because if a vehicle isn't operating to where a human can be learning lessons, then that spirit or soul that's in that vehicle can benefit a lot more by having a new experience. But it has to be the choice of the vehicle that's making that choice, because humans don't have the right to make that choice for others. Only the next level has the right to give life and take life. They give it and they take it away, because if we abuse it or take it for granted, they know that they're going to have to take it away in order for us to get some lessons of what it's like to exist within the negativity that is from the lower forces that influences you to make more and more poor choices. Poor choices by your own determination, because of the lessons you get from making poor choices. Oh, look who's home. So should I terminate this, or I'm kind of okay with either way.
You've been doing it for.
Yeah, I'm tired too.
Started driving.
Let me come out of there and help you with that. So, folks, I'm going to be leaving because my partner's back from a journey that I want to hear all about. And we got some new videos to watch.
I couldn't find the one that I wanted, but I found those, so that was fine. Okay.
All right, so let me turn this off. Okay, folks, I've had fun playing my instruments and talking,
Oh, Evie, chill.
and I hope it's been of some value to you all. If I didn't cover your question, I'll look at it and I'll leave a comment. A theological comment, yeah, right. Discussion with Doe. Oh, yeah, that would have been a fantastic discussion, because Doe, he certainly dug into stuff, and learned a lot. And then his experiences. I mean, that vehicle served him well, I think.
You know it's kind of hot in here.
Yeah, I know it is hot in here. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to end the stream. I'm sorry. I can't do any more. Good night, folks.
Evie, chill.